House Republicans have just submitted a proposal to change the name of the D.C. area airport from Dulles Airport to Trump Airport.
In June of 1775, the Continental Congress created a unified army. Our army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
All right, so here is what happened. Earlier this week, 7 House Republicans introduced a bill to rename Dulles Airport after Trump. Democratic Representative Jerry Connolly responded to the bill on X saying, quote, "Donald Trump is facing 91 felony charges. If Republicans want to name something after him, I'd suggest they find a federal prison." And that tweet's going viral because people think it's funny and because it calls attention to how weirdly cult-like the Republican Party has become, as if we didn't already know that.
They think we're all crazy, and we probably are.
That's what they're saying about Trump supporters.
Yeah. What?
That's not by any means a new or a hot take. Countless op-eds and video essays have discussed this exact topic. Trump selling his own Trump-approved version of the Bible is Trump himself playing into this Messianic persona, and there has been plenty written about the fact that the MAGA people, the QAnoners, and the evangelical Christians are nearly indistinguishable from one another in terms of their beliefs and their zealotry. They are getting more and more unhinged, more indoctrinated, more convinced that they are right about everything they believe in, despite having little to no evidence to support those beliefs. But they don't need evidence, they have faith. And they have faith that Trump, despite his personal shortcomings and despite his unconventional methods, is Christ-like in that he is here to disrupt the existing system and foster the second coming of Christ.
Well, I'm a Christian, so, I believe in all of it. And I believe Donald Trump is a Christian. And, it's a good Lord that put us here. It's a good Lord that wrote the Constitution. That's what it's all about. And, I'm all about it.
You're crediting the Lord with the Constitution?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You're crediting the Lord with the Constitution?
Yes, I am.
Great. So they don't care about his 91 felony charges. They don't care about his 2 impeachments. They don't care about the unsavory things that he has said or done because he is their imperfect vessel. His mission goes beyond the frivolous laws of this nation and this government because it comes from a higher power. His mission is not of this world. So Representative Connolly's tweet is fun, but it's not impactful. It's not calling anyone's attention to anything they don't already know and haven't already decided how they feel about. I'm not necessarily saying that he was trying to be impactful when he tweeted this, but good for him for going viral. This name change proposal from Dulles to Trump is strange for so many reasons, but one of those reasons is that Republicans really seem to not like Trump behind closed doors. They call him an idiot. They say he's going to destroy their party. They say he's not mentally or intellectually fit for office, and yet the party will not stop backing him. For these 7 Republicans in particular, it's like they're expecting Trump to come back, so they want to make sure that he sees that they were on his side all along. God or Christ or Trump forbid, they're caught being anything less than completely loyal and completely faithful. And changing the name of an airport is painless, right? People don't die because of it. I honestly don't care if they change the name of this airport to Trump International Airport, and I will tell you why later. But before I do, a reporter recently spoke with Republican congresspeople currently serving in Washington about the situation in Gaza. Situation, conflict, colonization, genocide, whatever you want to call it. When asked about biblical prophecies regarding control of Jerusalem and the second coming of Christ, Representative Pete Sessions of Texas said, quote, "This entire matter is based upon faith of our Maker, of our Creator, but it's also faith of a chosen people." When asked about the role of religious extremism shaping and funding the conflict in Gaza, Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee said, quote, "I wouldn't label the Baptist or the evangelical community as extreme because I feel like they're following the scripture and what the scripture says about Israel. Those who bless Israel will be blessed. I mean, they take it literal, and I'm one of those people." When asked about the biblical prophecies, Burchett said, quote, "I believe Jesus will come back, and I'm going to be on his side." So not extreme, right? So glorifying and honoring and enabling Trump is just part of their big, not extreme at all picture. So whatever, change the name of an airport. It's just performative. It's by far not the worst thing Republicans can do or are doing. Besides, John Foster Dulles wasn't great either. Of course, that depends on how you define the word great, and we all have very different and very personal ideas of what makes something or someone great. John Foster Dulles, who the DC airport is currently named after, may not have been charged with committing 91 felonies, but he certainly left behind a controversial legacy. John Foster Dulles was the Secretary of State during the Eisenhower administration in the 1950s. And I should clarify that we're talking about John Foster Dulles, not his brother Allen Dulles, who was a former CIA director. That said, the brothers were both sworn into their respective roles at the same time in 1953, and they very much worked together to achieve their bigger goals. As author Stephen Kinzer puts it, quote, "It was the only time in American history that siblings had controlled the overt and the covert sides of foreign policy." So why was a major American airport named after a Secretary of State? A lot of what the Dulles brothers believed, embodied, and pursued in their personal lives and political careers has shaped the way modern Americans perceive and understand their roles in the world. For one, they believed in American exceptionalism, and a lot of that exceptionalism stemmed from their belief that the United States was a Christian nation founded for the purpose of spreading Christianity around the world. They believed more specifically in missionary Calvinism, which preached a very black and white view of the world. This black and white view meant that people and things, like entire nations or ideologies, were either good or evil. And if that sounds like a reductive, immature way of viewing anything, let alone anything as complex as, say, an entire nation of people or an entire system of government, it's because it is. But I remember growing up learning about the world and its history and wars and conflicts, and this Dulles way of looking at these very complex global events was not only completely present, but presumed in my textbooks, to the point that it took some independent thought to understand that countries opposing the United States weren't always bad or evil, and that we weren't always good and virtuous and well-intended. I could do a whole podcast episode on the Dulles brothers, but suffice it to say that between the two of them, they were significant proponents of the coup in Iran, the coup in Guatemala, the Cuban embargo, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and more. Each of these global incidents were devastating to the local communities and governments, and each of them had long-lasting and destabilizing repercussions within those countries that can still be felt to this day. In 1954, John Foster Dulles was Time Magazine's Man of the Year. Legacy is a complicated thing. Idolatry can turn up in unexpected places. We like to have our heroes, and we like to look to others for inspiration or motivation or hope, but rarely are people as good as we ever need or want them to be. And I'm mainly referring to the kind of people who get airports named after them. I'll just say this, if you have an airport named after you, or if your name is on the side of some tower, I'm going to assume that you were probably kind of a terrible person. I don't care if there's an airport named after Trump. If Dulles has an airport, Trump may as well have one. Here in Houston, we've got Bush Airport, named after George H.W. Bush. He was a one-term president who committed war crimes and puked on the Japanese prime minister. There are bigger things to worry about than the names of airports, and the members of Congress who put this Dulles to Trump proposal forward know that. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out my podcast, Modern Context. Thanks.